Welcome back to Before the Bell here on MMA Oddsbreaker. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. This week, of course, it's Cyborg, versus, Landsberg. This one's a tough one for me, man. It's just like, what's the point? I don't understand why they're doing this at 140, but we'll get to that in a minute. We got to talk about Renan Barão and Philippe Nover, the co-main event, and to be honest with you, it's a UFC fight night, so it's technically what's considered a free show. You know, the main card's on Fox Sports 1, the prelims are on Fox Sports 1, and then UFC Fight Pass. This whole card, definitely worth being a free card. I can see the difference between the pay-per-view cards now versus the free cards. It used to be a lot of the times they were trying to put some really great, super high-end matchups on Fox Sports 1 to kind of convince you to go ahead and buy the pay-per-view. And now, at least for this card, it's not. But this card is definitely worthy of being on Fox Sports 1. It's a card that's worth being free. I just kind of think, the two main event and the co-main event fights are kind of set. They got to be huge differences. With Barão and Nover, I didn't want to ask who's the favorite.
Well, you're on the right track with both of them. Obviously, the Cyborg one's even worse. But right now, for Barão, he's at minus 470. The comeback on Nover is plus 375. So, a huge favorite, basically a 5-1 favorite. There was early action coming in on Nover early on, and now it's heading back towards Barão a little bit too. Now, of course, honestly, if this was a couple years ago, even at 145, Barão would be a huge favorite, even bigger. He's a big favorite now, so I'm not saying he's not, but you know what I mean. That line would probably be double, if not more. So, it is what it is. I think Nover's actually a little bit underrated. He's going to be somewhat of a challenge. He's got some size. He has some skill as well. So I wouldn't exactly lay that price, to be honest with you. I don't think, especially the way Barão's looked. He didn't look horrible. He didn't look that bad in the Stevens loss recently. But still, his fights with Dillashaw, and then even some of his wins as of late, he hasn't been that impressive. So there's definitely not the same Barão that we're used to seeing dominate people and just looking outstanding like he once did. Right now, there's some question marks surrounding him for sure. So for me, man, I would just stay away from it.
Yeah, the line seems so huge, but there are some disparaging. If you go to, and like I said, I love going to UFC.com and looking at the breakdown of the competitors. They've got a great deal here where height, there's a 3-inch difference. Nover's 3 inch taller. So when you say his size, it's not just is he bigger and thicker. He is actually taller and longer. He has a 2-inch reach advantage as well. Will he use that 2-inch reach advantage is the question, which is why he also makes it very difficult for guys to be able to battle him, because he is one of the bigger guys at 145. His record, though, at 12-6, obviously tells a real tale as well, that he has a hard time when it comes to these bigger fights, and Barão is a bigger fight. At 35-4, even in the bigger fights, when he does fail a little bit, Barão still tends to find a way to win. And this, I just don't think it's a big fight for him. I think he's going to come in there and want to make a statement, Barão, and try to push the pace and say, look, I'm back to my old ways. This is how it should be. I'm ready to come back in, and he's going to do it by trying to take Nover out as quickly as possible and make it a dynamic win. Looking at rankings, and we've seen a couple guys jump. Obviously, the Menace jumped after beating Poirier this last weekend. If Barão beats Nover, will it kind of solidify, significantly, not just by decision, but like cracks him, puts him unconscious, or submits him? Do you think it's going to make a change in the rankings at all for him? Is it going to make the crowd, the fans, get behind him a little bit more?
It'll certainly get him back on track a little bit. Yeah, it'll definitely gain him some respect back. But, a win over Nover. Nover's not really widely recognized as one of the top guys at 145 pounds, top 15 type of guy. So I think it'll be a solid win for him because Nover's been in there with some great competition. He's had some really close fights, too. So it's not like he's getting blown away by all these guys. He's hanging in there. But, yeah, I think it would just be a solid win on his resume, but people will just kind of overlook it. So I think he needs to go out there and kind of look good and try to finish Nover for it to actually help him a little bit, help his stock rise. It's potentially going to get him back in the top 15. Maybe not this fight, but I'm saying he's going to have a quicker shot at entering the top 15 at 145 pounds than most fighters because of what he's accomplished at 135 and how dominant of a champion he was. So if he gets on a roll, starts finishing a couple people at featherweight, then obviously people are going to consider him legit and, kind of bump him back in there. So I'm hoping he looks pretty good, but I don't know. I think it's a dog or pass situation, honestly, and I'm not too sure I want to really throw my money on Nover either.
For me, I'm going to pass on this one entirely. So let's move on to Cyborg and Landsberg. There's basically two fighters 140 pounds in the UFC, Cyborg and Landsberg. It's a weight class. I don't understand what they're doing. Does she need to make? If she's not going to make 135, and I totally understand. I totally get it. If you're not going to, if you're going to kill yourself, literally die trying to get down to 35, you've dieted down, you try to do all that stuff, and you don't want to be at that weight class, and don't mess with the middle ground. Don't screw around with it. step up and be at 45 or be at 35. But don't be caught in the middle here and set yourself up for success by being at one or two of the weight classes, but not in this middle game. She can't really win Cyborg, who I think is going to be the huge favorite, obviously, in this thing. Even if she wins decisively, it's not going to do anything for her because it's at a weird weight class. It stops the whole conversation of, all right, Ronda Rousey wants to fight for the title and then fight Cyborg directly after. Well, she can't fight Cyborg directly after because Cyborg can't make 135. As of right now, she's making one and struggling to make 140. And there's no break. My understanding is there's no 141 pound, like everybody else gets the pound difference. They're treating this like a title fight. If she doesn't make 140, she's over. Like you have to be at 140.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. But but then there was a report out there that she does get a 1 pound allowance or something like that. So I haven't checked all the details. I'll check it out at weigh-ins, after they make weight or whatnot. But we'll see what happens with it. I don't know. I mean,
we spend time analyzing every single little aspect of the fight. Like every single fight we pay attention to. We're looking at how their training camps are, what their diet, the last 5 fights they were in, what their diet is for this fight. We develop and get into everything. And is it kind of telling that we're both kind of like, she might get a pound, she might not. We're not really sure. We read 2 different reports, but we're not really wanting to dive into it because it's such an apparent mismatch. I mean, it's kind of silly almost.
Exactly. It's not going to matter too much. Unfortunately, it's not. You know what I mean? In this situation, it's probably not going to matter too much. I mean, she's minus 1,300 right now. Landsberg's plus 850. So, I mean, a huge favorite. But typically, Cyborg has these huge lines too. I mean, her and Ronda Rousey, when the women, with women fights, they're outstanding favorites, huge favorites. That's why, I mean, that is a super fight that a lot of fans still want to see, I think, Rousey and Cyborg. I don't know if we're ever going to get to see it, like what you said with, the weight issues and stuff, but I mean, for right now, I think the point is for Cyborg to come in here and just knock people out and just kind of put on a show. So that's exactly what the UFC is doing. They're letting her headline a card in Brazil. They know she's probably going to knock this chick out and have another highlight reel type of finish. So they're just kind of building her up a little bit. I mean, Cyborg's popular amongst the diehard fans and beyond now a little bit, of course. So I think they're expecting her to go out there, just get another crazy good knockout, and then we'll worry about the rest later. I mean, just kind of build up her stock even more, to get people wanting to see her and talking about the Ronda Rousey, fights or talking about other super fights. I think that's the only thing they could really do for right now with Cyborg is just give her a huge fight. Maybe Holly Holm will go up and fight her like 140, 145, like you said. Maybe Miesha Tate. There's been talk of Miesha Tate going up there. She would like to do it. So, I mean, those would kind of be considered, I guess, super fights or mega fights for the women's division. I mean, popular, lady fighters that have just recently worn the strap going up against Cyborg. So a lot of fans would probably want to see that.
I'm just interested to see, who I feel bad for the most in this fight is going to be the ref. My feeling is going to be Big John McCarthy. I don't know who the other refs are down there, but I do know John is going down. He leaves sometime tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow to get down there. And it's one of those situations where he's got the most headache out of anybody. Because if it does go the way we think it's going to go, where Cyborg just completely dominates her and gets over, he's got to be in there right away to put a girl that's going unconscious, or any fighter to step in there and stop him. It could happen within the first 5 or 6 seconds. Or if you see a surprise like we saw with Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey, where everyone is expecting Chris Cyborg to win, but then Landsberg finds a way to come back and win this one. Now all of a sudden you got to jump in and be on the other side and be able to stop it, keep her from going all the way out. So it's a very difficult task for the referee. The rest of us are just sitting here kind of like, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. We're just going to watch Cyborg crush this girl. And of course we're going to yell and lose our voices if it flips around, just like we did with Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey. And we did with Miesha Tate and Holly Holm. Like we all weren't expecting that to happen. When it happened, we all went nuts. But more likely it's not going to happen. And Cyborg, to me, has always been the best competitor in the women's division, just at the wrong weight class. Like at the time that Ronda brought so much notoriety to the weight class, she just wasn't at the right spot at the right time at the right weight class to follow on that lead and go in there and say, look, I dethroned her and I make the step up. Now everyone's paying attention to Holly Holm and Miesha Tate. And Cyborg is kind of, right now, is like you said, they have to build her up a little bit more, but she is really just coming in, knocking people out and just increasing her stock because her stock really isn't as high as it should be for someone of her talent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the UFC loves her, obviously. They know what kind of star power she has and they can make her out to be that killer. I mean, they do already. That's what most of us know her for is just, vicious knockouts and just really her dominating most opponents. So, yeah, I mean, they do have something with her. And again, they build up a few knockouts. I think that's a good thing. Highlight reels get Cyborg's name out there to the public a little bit more so. And, they're going to basically look at her like a machine out there, that invincible machine. I mean, and that's great. That's exactly what they do. Ronda Rousey was an invincible machine, at one time until that happened to her and she got that huge upset loss. And those upsets, man, they stir the pot too, of course. I mean, they really do. So even though it's bad for the UFC, because I know that they were kind of devastated from a business standpoint, seeing your star lose like Ronda Rousey did. But at the same time, look how much attention it brought to the sport. Everybody was shocked. You know what I mean? There's people talking about it, I mean, for months and months after the fact, you know what I mean, about that fight and how crazy of an upset it was and all that. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing when they get their stars beat, and it's going to happen. I mean, Cyborg's eventually going to lose too. I mean, she lost not too long ago in kickboxing, she got beat there. So it's going to happen in MMA as well. I mean, I don't know if Landsberg's the girl to do it. I doubt it, but you never know. I mean, she's a striker as well. She's known for her elbows, and she does have some pretty nasty elbows. So it could possibly happen. You never know. It's a fight. But yeah, I mean, chances are Cyborg goes out there and just knocks her out, and that's that. So I would like to see her faced a girl like Deronda May. I mean, she's a nasty striker as well. I mean, again, the weight class situation is not that great. Or Shevchenko, another one. I mean, another really devastating striker that has a more well-rounded game. I mean, that'd be pretty cool too. Now, Shevchenko size-wise is going to be pretty small though in that spot. So I mean, Cyborg's just a big girl, man. I mean, she really is strong, athletic, of course, explosive. So she's a tough matchup for a lot of these girls for sure. I mean, and she's going to continue to probably do her thing.
So in both these fights, it's take a small stab at the underdog or passing this thing entirely. Are you going to pass on the main event as well?
Yeah, there's nothing to touch here. I mean, even the total, I opened at 1.5 under 300. They bet it to like 350. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's even that much value there. I do think it probably still goes under 1.5 because even if the dog pulls off the massive upset, which honestly I'll be hoping for. I mean, I hope we're wrong here. I hope that Landsberg goes out there and knocks her out because again, that would be great for the sports books. That'd be great for everybody. I mean, as far as you getting another huge star beat, that's going to bring a lot of attention as well. But even if that happens, it goes under 1.5 probably. I don't see it happening like much later than that. So I think we probably see a round one stoppage either way, but I mean, obviously more than likely it's going to be Cyborg getting the job done. So I'm staying away completely.
So both of us are staying away both these fights, the main event, co-main event. But this card is great. If you don't have Fight Pass, you got to get it. Fung and Gillespie open up the card with Patch and Ray being the main event on the Fight Pass prelims. And then, of course, the main card prelims move over to Fox Sports 1 with Gil Burns and Pesavera, who I had some time to kind of see how Burns trains and what he does when I was down at Black Zillions, and Silva and Chains actually opens up the prelims. It's going to be a great card, top to bottom. You got to get a chance to watch it. It's just the disparity of the main event, co-main event, and that's the way nature of the fight game. It's just sometimes there's just guys are so much better than the people they're fighting. That's just how it goes. So
yeah, and you're right. I mean, the earlier fights are probably going to be a lot more competitive, a lot better, to be honest with you. Yeah, fun fights. So it's cool. It's not all a loss. And again, for a free card, can't really argue it. I mean, it's pretty good MMA, definitely.
I'm watching from top to bottom, no matter what happens. I don't care. I'll be watching every single fight. So
yeah.
Well, that's it for this week. This is Before the Bell here on MMA Oddsbreaker. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. We'll see you next time.